NFL free agency has changed the Pittsburgh Steelers draft plans drastically. So, now that free agency is a couple weeks in and the moves are starting to be less and less, the major areas where the Steelers are going to be able to make upgrades to their team now heads to the draft. But because of the moves they made in free agency, it kind of leaves a drastic change in their draft plans. So, as we all know, offense tackle is the biggest need for the Steelers outside of cornerback. Those two really go hand to hand. But when looking at offensive tackles in the draft, there's guys like Peter Skowski and also Jones from Ohio State. Those are two offensive tackles. But when Steelers are going to draft an offensive tackle in this year's draft, they have to make sure they're actual offensive tackles. We always hear if they don't work out an offensive tackle, we'll just kick them inside to guard. But now they can't do that. They have to make sure they're actual offensive tackles because they addressed guard heavily in free agency. They have a backload of offensive guards. They have 4 capable starters now at offensive guard on their team. So if they draft offensive tackle, they need to make sure they're actual offensive tackles, not these guys who need to kick into guard because they can't handle it. Also, the Steelers heading into the draft, you would say inside linebacker is one of their biggest needs, but they address that with 2 new starters on the team. So now that becomes less and less likely to be a high draft pick. Yes, they still need a cover inside linebacker, but that becomes less of a need because they addressed in free agency. And now, also looking at cornerback. Cornerback becomes a bigger need for the Steelers because they let go of Cameron Sutton. And you might say, yes, we got Patrick Peterson, but he's 33 years old. So now the Steelers will most likely be looking at a cornerback early in the draft, maybe even the first round draft pick, because now they're older and they have less depth and they need a guy for the future to handle the load. So that's where the Steelers draft plans change. And also, when you look at outside linebacker depth, right now the Steelers have not addressed it. So expect that to be drafted early in the draft. And also, the major position, which I held for last, is the strong safety position. Right now, the Steelers have no starter at strong safety. So, Terrell Edmonds basically said a farewell to the Steelers, meaning that the Steelers will not have a strong safety, a guy who's really capable of locking it down and being just a solid guy, meaning that that becomes a higher position on the Steelers' rankings for the draft. If the Steelers brought back Terrell Edmonds, you would say you could kind of lay off on that. But now they might be looking for that in the higher rounds, maybe even first round with Brian Branch. You never know. The Steelers need a slot cornerback as well. So Brian Branch apparently is a slot cornerback. He's a strong safety. He's a do-it-all guy. So maybe that becomes a position of need and a guy that the Steelers look at early in the draft that they might not have looked at if they were able to keep Cameron Sutton, if they were able to keep Terrell Edmonds. But now, since they let these guys go, that position and Brian Branch's name becomes more popular in the Steelers and the head coach and the GM, the owner's minds, and maybe that guy is now who the Steelers will draft. We've seen a bunch of guys go to the Alabama Pro Day, and even the Steelers defensive backs coach, Grady, put the DBs through the workout. So maybe they wanted to see an extra look what it would look like going through a workout of a Pittsburgh Steelers coach. So let me know down in the comments below. How do you feel about this? And how do you feel about the drastic changes to the Pittsburgh Steelers draft plans? Or do you believe that free agency is not going to impact it? They're just going to draft the best player available like I want them to? Or do you believe now, because of the players that they picked up in free agency, these players drafted becomes a forefront to the coaches and the GM's minds on draft day? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well. If you like Steelers content, analysis, reports, like the video, turn on post notifications down below for this channel as well. Click the bell down below. I'm going to be covering all the draft as well. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.